This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Today, being Tuesday, we're looking at the top 5 list, and as you've probably seen from the thumbnail and the title of this video, what we're discussing today is what are the 5 essential guitars that you really need to own. And I suppose, like all of these lists, this one is entirely subjective. These are just my choices. You probably have your own, so leave those in the comments down below. The reason I'm doing this list today is because I had an email from a student of mine who was also a viewer of this channel asking this question: what are the 5 essential guitars that you need? Reading between the lines, I think what he's up to here is he wants to be able to point to this video and say to his missus, "You see, I do need more than one guitar," but I might have just blown it for him by mentioning that. Anyway, what follows is a list of what I consider to be 5 essential guitars that you really need to have at your disposal, starting with
one of these.
Yes, indeed, something Stratocaster like. Some form of Strat, basically. Now, this isn't a Strat, this is a Telecaster, but it is a Nashville Telecaster, meaning it has the middle pickup there, which means it can do all of the Strat-y kind of things that you get when you combine the bridge and middle, or the neck and middle. I always like the bridge and middle setting. That's always the Strattiest Strat sound for me. It's not a sound I kind of gravitate to a lot of the time, but it is a sound that does get used a lot, and if you're looking to play popular music on electric guitar, then one of the voices that you need at your disposal is something that sounds like this. That characteristic, quacky, often referred to as out-of-phase kind of sound that's been used by, obviously, Mark Knopfler is a prime example, but Chris Rea is a big fan of that sound as well. Obviously, Robert Cray, loads and loads of players. What's he called? Abracadabra guy, Steve Miller, that's him. I couldn't think of his name there. You know, another fan of that sound, and it's there are times when only that sound will do. So if you don't have a guitar that has that capability, then you're missing out. So yeah, something Strat-like. As I say, I'm much more of a Telecaster guy, and I have this Nashville Telecaster, which was very generously given to me by a friend, and this is what I go to. This is my go-to guitar for any kind of situation where I need that Strat-y kind of quacky sound. Next,
one of these.
Yes, indeed, something Telecaster-ish, and this tends to be the guitar that I go to whenever I want that old-school Telecaster vibe. The Nashville Telecaster does a brilliant version of the Telecaster sound, but for some reason I can't quite put my finger on. This is the one I go to when I want, that kind of authentic Telecaster kind of tone. I always think of the Nashville Telecaster as being me Strat, and this Faisley Outlaw Coyote Plus as being my Telecaster. It makes sense in my head, trust me, So, these are great little guitars, 150 quid, and roasted maple neck, hand-stained ash body, Wilkinson hardware. I've upgraded the pickups and the pot. It's now got I think CTS pots and an Oak Grigsby switch, and it's Tone Rider pickups, and I swapped the tuners out as well. So, you know, it's even factoring in those costs, it's still a fantastic instrument for the money. But there's just something about the Telecaster sound, especially on the bridge pickup. It's immediately identifiable. I think probably one of the first guitar tones where I thought, oh, that sounds great, what's that? Was a certain riff by Mr. Springsteen. Goes like this. Yeah, Darlington County from the Born in the USA album. That was it's just such a prominent riff that's kind of right there, and that's such a gorgeous tone, I thought. You know, and it's just that quintessential Telecaster bridge pickup sound, which has a lot to do with the fact that the Telecaster bridge pickup is unlike any other bridge pickup design, the way it's kind of mounted into the bridge and all that. I'm not sure scientifically what's going on. All I know is that it does give a characteristic sound that's immediately identifiable. And, you know, again, as I was saying with that sort of Strat sound, it's a sound that you're going to hear on a lot of songs. And if you want to be able to reproduce those songs and get something of that kind of vibe, then you need some kind of guitar that has this sort of pickup configuration, and the bolt on neck and the scale length all probably play a part as well. So yes, something Telecaster-ish. Next.
One of these.
Yeah, a Les Paul or some kind of single cut. You know, it's just one of the iconic guitar designs, isn't it? And one of the iconic guitar tones. Basically, you know, a set neck, 24 3/4 inch scale length, a pair of humbuckers usually, although P90s are an option. And there's usually mahogany and maple involved. And, you know, whether it was Les Paul, the man himself, in the 50s, or, you know, in the 60s you had Mike Bloomfield and Eric Clapton, and into the 70s, you know, we can think of Jimmy Page, Paul Kossoff, Peter Frampton. You know, then in the 80s, the Les Paul did kind of wane a little bit. Everybody was after, you know, some kind of pointy headstock, Floyd Rose equipped Super Strat, but then along comes Slash towards the end of the decade and gives the Les Paul a much needed kind of boost, I guess. And Gary Moore, obviously, you know, from Still Got the Blues onwards, he became a leading ambassador for the Les Paul, didn't he? And you know, it's just a fantastic, fantastic guitar. This is mine. This is a Les Paul tribute, the cheap one, basically. No binding and no fancy top. And, you know, great guitar. And it's since been upgraded with a pair of burst buckers. Thank you, Joshua. Much appreciated, mate. And, you know, much as you kind of think, oh, I can just throw a humbucker into a Strat or something like that and get close to the sound, it'll sort of cover the same sort of territory. But this is, if you want that tone, then you kind of need one of these. And it's whenever I pick this guitar up and start playing it, I always have a massive grin on my face because it's just so much fun. I'm just going to have a little bit of a play with it now, in fact. So often characterised as having a kind of a dark and some people kind of think of it as a muddy sound, but I just, you know, I've come to really appreciate the clarity and definition of this style of guitar. And as I say, this is a particularly fine example of the breed, and I'm very, very happy with it. And if you know, you don't have to spend a fortune, you don't have to have a Gibson. Epiphone makes some great guitars. Harley Benton makes some great guitars. The SC552 is a fantastic single-cut guitar. So you don't have to spend a fortune, and it's just worth having this particular tonal colour on your palette of sounds. So, something Les Paul-like. Next.
One of these.
An acoustic, yes. My first ever guitar was an acoustic guitar. I often say my first guitar was the Woolworths Top 20 electric guitar. That was my first electric. But my first ever guitar that I ever owned was a Kay steel string folk student acoustic thing with an action like an egg slicer. But, you know, it taught me, or I learned my first chords on it. I think the first two chords I learned were D and A7. When I moved away from home to go to college when I was 17, that'll have been 1984, I lost track of that guitar. I don't know what happened to it. It probably went out in the rubbish, or went to the council tip or whatever, because I hadn't played it in ages, because I'd graduated to an electric guitar, the aforementioned Woolworths Top 20. You know, for decades I was just an electric guitarist, didn't own an acoustic. Then a few years ago, I guess it'd probably be about 2017, I had, you ever had that feeling where you want to buy a new guitar, but you don't know what you want? You just want that kind of retail therapy hit, and you want to treat yourself to something. I had about £100 to spend, so I thought, I'll get an acoustic. I ought to own one. There was that sort of feeling of like, I'm a guitarist and I should really own an acoustic guitar. And I bought the Harley Benton that you can see on the wall there. That is now in Nashville tuning, so like, you know, the high strings of a 12-string set. And this is my latest acoustic again, another Harley Benton, and I wouldn't be without an acoustic guitar now. It's something I find really useful is if you are recording sort of a chunky power chord part. I don't mean if you're talking kind of Slipknot or Avenged Sevenfold levels of gain, just something a little bit more kind of classic rock. If you put an acoustic part doubling the power chords, kind of just bubbling away low down in the mix, it really does add a kind of nice dimension to it, and I really enjoy playing this guitar. It plays really nicely. I've given it a little bit of a setup in the last week or so. It was starting to kind of get a bit of high action for some reason, but it plays really nicely now, and it sounds really good, as you shall now hear. So, you know, it's never going to be, Tommy Emmanuel's choice of acoustic guitar, but for my purposes, this little Harley Benton is all I need. And as I say, it's just for something I didn't think I was going to have much use for, and I just bought it out of a sense of, well, I should really own one, shouldn't I? It's proved itself really useful, and continues to earn its keep. So yes, I definitely think you need an acoustic in your life. Next.
One of these.
A bass. Yes. Does this count as a guitar? Well, it often gets called a bass guitar, doesn't it? So I'm going to stretch the parameters a little bit and possibly offend the purists by including it here. I need a bass. It's essential for me because I record all of my own backing tracks and they all need a bass line. So hence, that's why I need a bass. But even if you're not doing any home recording where you need bass lines on the stuff that you're doing, it's useful to have a bass because, first of all, if you learn to play it, that's another skill that you've got that makes you a little bit more of an asset in, if you're trying to find a gig in a band. If you can say, well, I can play guitar and I can play bass, then you've doubled your chances, really. The other thing that I would say about playing bass is that because obviously it's the strings are tuned to the same 4 notes as the low strings on a guitar, albeit down an octave, it does give you much more of an insight into figuring out where notes are, okay, which is something that many guitarists, it's a goal that many guitarists have, and many people kind of struggle with figuring out where the notes are on their 6-stringed instrument. But if you're playing an instrument where you have to just know where notes are, because bass players think in terms of single note lines, it does give you something of an advantage when you go back to 6 strings. I think probably the first time I ever realised that I wanted a bass was back in 1981 or thereabouts, when a certain song was riding high in the charts, and it had a very prominent riff that went like this. Yeah, you're just waiting for that organ part to come in there, aren't you? Of course, I'm talking about A Town Called Malice by The Jam. Not usually, I wasn't ever really a massive fan of The Jam, but or Paul Weller in general, but I do like that song, and that bass line is just such a catchy and infectious thing. And I remember the music department at our school had a Hondo branded bass guitar, and I used to probably while away many a school lunch hour there, kind of annoying everybody within earshot by just kind of repeatedly playing that riff. It was the only kind of thing I could play on a bass. So yeah, having a bass is definitely going to improve your guitar playing, improve your kind of ability to get work in bands, and it's essential if you're doing any form of home recording. So I would say you're probably going to need a bass. And there you have it, folks. Those are my 5 essential types of guitar that I think everybody should own. Your list, as I said at the beginning of this video, is probably going to be different to mine, either in some small way or in massively different ways. But as I said, these are my choices, and you make of them what you will. Let me know what your thoughts on this are down in the comments, but that is pretty much the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed what you've seen and found it entertaining and informative in some small way, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. Why not drop me a like as well while you're at it? Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. We drink beer and talk about music and guitars and whatever else crops up, basically. Great way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.